Thank you, Walter. As Walter mentioned, I'm Gwendolyn Wynkoop. I work for the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation's Division of Waters, Bureau of Water Resource Management, Emerging Research, and Regional Support Section. We have a lot of acronyms. And I'll just qualify this by saying I am not a technical expert on phosphorus. I'm actually filling in for my supervisor and our Bureau Director for our Bureau of Water Assessment and Management. So if you have any questions at the end, during the panel, I'll certainly try to answer them, but I do encourage you to reach out to them. Okay. All right, so let's talk a little bit about these phosphorus guidance values and how we're sort of implementing them. So why phosphorus? I mean, you've already heard from this whole presentation, these panels. We had a 2024 State of the State directive that said that DEC will issue guidance values for phosphorus to support and further drive comprehensive efforts to reduce the frequency of harmful algal blooms that have the potential to negatively impact drinking water quality and access to swimming and recreation in New York's waters. Chris already mentioned, but it's the most common pollutant that's cited on our state's 303D list. Obviously it can contribute to harmful algal blooms, hypoxic and anoxic conditions in water bodies, all sorts of problems, right? So we actually did a statewide analysis, for New York State of drivers of HABs. With that, found that leading factors were the presence of dreissenid mussels like zebra and quagga mussels, length of lake fetch, right, that distance over which the wind blows uninterrupted, a northwest orientation of max fetch, which is aligned with prevailing winds, and then obviously phosphorus concentration. So phosphorus really is kind of the only controllable thing that we have, and we have more direct regulatory oversight of point sources, right? So that's what we can control. So our current criteria for phosphorus is a narrative standard, right? We have a narrative standard for nutrients, which is really kind of open to interpretation. Our proposed approach is really a numeric interpretation of that narrative standard through updates to our technical and operational guidance series, or TOGS 111 and 136. TOGS 111, we're serving an addendum that includes phosphorus guidance values to protect human health and aquatic life in both flowing and ponded water bodies. And TOGS 136 kind of details how we're handling the State Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, or SPEDI's, point source discharges related to phosphorus reductions. And we're also really kind of focused on response variables specifically, looking at chlorophyll A and benthic invertebrates, which quantify, the observed effects of total phosphorus pollution and can help us confirm exceedance of the narrative nutrient standard. So we'll talk a little bit about that now. So response variables really provide a direct measure of assimilative capacity of aquatic systems. Right, so in our narrative water quality standard, that growth of algae, weeds, and slimes, it generally occurs due to high total phosphorus levels, but waters with high assimilative capacity can also exceed the total phosphorus guidance value with no observed effects, right? So some lakes may have high phosphorus content, but there's no real response. So that's why we have a two-part total phosphorus guidance value that I'll show on the next slide, and we're kind of relying on a technology-based effluent limit approach. So if you, I think this was back in 2024, if you remember when we put out our initial draft of TOGS 136 and the addendum to TOGS 111, we were seeing this, looking at several different factors, right? So we're looking at a summary table here of the guidance values, the associated water body type, class, location, response variable, and underlying use that was protected as part of the guidance value derivation. We have 3 individual fact sheets that are specific to these different types of water bodies and how we kind of came up with these guidance values. So if you do have questions on that, I highly recommend looking at the fact sheets themselves for more information. But that's what Walter was mentioning. You look at the ponded waters statewide, we're looking at a total phosphorus guidance value of 20 micrograms per liter, focused on that chlorophyll A response variable. So the update to TOGS 136 and TOGS 111 is our real comprehensive approach to addressing phosphorus pollution from point sources. We're really looking at effluent limits only applying to existing facilities once we've identified a priority watershed, so a watershed with the greatest estimated point source reduction and phosphorus load that's resulting from implementation of the guidance values. And we're intending to have funding available for upgrades to treatment systems for that. And hopefully we would see a response in the receiving water with an implemented reduction from these point sources. You can also see that we have these technology-based limits for any new or expanded facilities. We're looking at a 0.2 milligram per liter limit. That's the limit of technology. We're also seeing, for existing facilities, a 0.5 milligram per liter value if they have tertiary treatment, or 1 milligram per liter if they have secondary treatment. On the non-point source side of things, a little bit tougher to kind of handle. We have several different ways that we are addressing non-point source, pollution, specifically for phosphorus. We have our clean water plans, our total maximum daily loads, our 9-element watershed plans, our HAB action plans. We're also, using various funding opportunities, our water quality improvement project program, our agricultural and environmental management program, ag non-point source. We're implementing projects through those funding opportunities to help reduce non-point source pollution and implement best management practices to help reduce that. I won't talk too much about the nutrient runoff law because I know we're running behind on time, but this is also a law that was implemented back in 2010 that kind of talks a little bit about fertilizer practices and the requirements associated with that. So we're trying to drive reductions of phosphorus through also behavior-based changes as well. So talk a little bit about our holistic response to HABs, although I know everybody's kind of already covered this. We're really looking at a long-term strategy through clean water planning and nutrient reduction that's coupled with research and in-water body mitigation to develop and implement effective solutions to HABs reductions. And new to 2026 is our DEC roadmap. So we have a HABs roadmap. That's our strategic document that combines all of our goals to further the statewide mission of managing HABs with a variety of short-term and long-term action plans associated with that. This QR code will take you to the HABs action plan, or the roadmap rather, so if you guys are interested, definitely take a look at it. Chris, are these slides going to be made available as well? Okay, yeah, so if anybody wants them as well, we can pass these slides along as well, because I have several different QR codes. We also have a HABs research grant opportunity where applications are due by September 15th of this year. We have up to $2.5 million available with award amounts between $250,000 to $750,000. Eligible bidders would include government entities, so municipalities and soil and water conservation districts, academic institutions, not-for-profit community-based organizations, or community-based organizations that are partnered with a nonprofit that serves as a fiscal sponsor. So again, if you're interested, there's the QR code. And then we'll talk very briefly about our additional funding opportunities to try to get us through this. I mentioned our Water Quality Improvement Project Program, or WQIP. Our application period is going through July 31st, and it's really kind of focused on projects that improve water quality or habitat, that promote flood risk reduction, restoration, and enhanced flood and climate resiliency, or protect a drinking water source. We have a lot of different eligible project types, so I would definitely encourage you to take a look at our website to see, specifically if you have any projects that you would want to implement related to that project or that program. Definitely take a look and hurry on getting your applications in, because July 31st is going to come really quick. And then we also have our non-agricultural, non-point source, and MS4 planning grant, our NPG. Same thing, July 31st is when those applications would need to be in. And we, if you've already applied for these types of projects, I would still encourage you to take a look at our website, because we are, proposing new eligible project types every year. So it's worth taking a look to see if, that list has changed, or maybe you weren't eligible, but now you're eligible. So definitely take a look at both of those. And if you have questions after this, not my boss, but contact our bureau director. And I think that's about it. Yep.